Inside this envelope is the most unique and daring design I've seen so far this year. In fact, both its color and the strange shape of its camera module reminded me of a kind of triangular alien spaceship. Everyone has heard about the Huawei Pura 80 Ultra, but what about the Pro? Some people don't even know that there's a cheaper Pro model. And here I'm going to show you that you don't have to spend so much to have an impressive camera, screen, and design in its price range. As an advance, if you enjoy smartphone photography, no one offers more for less right now. But anyway, you've already seen the unboxing. And now let's talk about the design of this spectacular UFO with cameras that look like they're from another planet. Something I love, and you can see it. It depends on how the sunlight or any other direct light hits it. In the design of this Huawei, its appearance changes radically. In fact, it's something you'll be seeing throughout this whole video, in small clips recorded in spectacular environments, which look great on this Huawei. You can install any app you want, including Google Apps. But you already seen the back of this Huawei Pura 80 Pro, all glass, extremely durable, doesn't even reach 220 grams. It's the most well-rounded smartphone I've tried this year. It's very ergonomic. The ports, you are already seeing them, a microphone, a speaker, USB Type-C 3.1, Gen 1, and this is the dual SIM model. Unlock with the fingerprint guide to see how fast it is, plus the volume key. Both have very good travel. On the top, there's another microphone and the second speaker, and on the other side, there's absolutely nothing. What I like most about the design, without a doubt, is the camera, which is also quite ergonomic since you can place your finger there and handle it with some support. But now, let's get to the part I like the most, and that's that I'm going to put this Huawei Pura 80 Pro through some tough tests. As you can see, it's underwater due to its dust and water protection, IP69. I wanted to test if this actually worked as it should, and I can already tell you that yes, it does. Not only that, you can also see that the screen controller doesn't go crazy. I've also reviewed the iPhone 17 Pro Max on this channel, and in similar situations, its screen malfunctioned when wet. And it's these little details that make the difference between companies, and in this case, Huawei here takes the prize. Speaking of prizes, let's move to its photography section. The design seems superb to me, unique, spectacular to the eyes, but the downside? What I disliked is that module quickly collects dust, as you can see. It's a front camera with 13 megapixels and a main rear camera with 1 inch and 50 megapixels. Also, with a variable aperture between f1.6 and f4.0. Ultra wide-angle camera with 40 megapixels and telephoto macro lens with 48 megapixels. It would also have a small ultra chroma camera sensor, which helps to better adapt the colors. But you can already see the camera interface. Everything runs very smoothly. Everything works very well. You can tell that Huawei's experienced here. It also has up to 100x zoom. And I like how this ring feels to set exactly the zoom you want. And it gives you feedback, a very subtle but effective vibration. It has several modes, but I especially liked the Pro mode. You can use Pro Video mode, which allows up to 30 seconds of exposure. But if I had to choose just one of the modes, you can see there are a lot, I would pick the Super Macro. You don't need to activate it from here. It turns on automatically, as you can see. It detects something close and activates itself. Well, here you're going to see some of the most spectacular photos I've taken with a macro so far this year. I like the dynamic range, colors, detail, and blur. It's really well done. As I said earlier, Huawei is skilled in photography and cameras. It's truly amazing, and it has only gotten better, not just in terms of hardware, but also in software. That's something I've noticed. The processing, the post-processing of the photos feels pretty natural, and that's really impressive. As I mentioned in the Vivo X300 Pro review, it really motivates you to take more photos, not just because of its hardware, but also because of its software and how easy it makes it to take good photos. But anyway, another thing I liked is the editing options. It has a lot of parameters for editing, which is really appreciated. You don't need to download any app, but for example, when it comes to artificial intelligence, powered erasing, I suggest doing it by hand rather than using the circle since it's more effective and works better. And now, let's move on to the rest of the most spectacular photos I've taken with this Huawei Pura 80 Pro. You'll see a journey from ultra-wide angle to 100x digital zoom. I think it's amazing that even without using the Ultra, you're already seeing the quality of the photos. They're sublime. And as I always do in all the reviews I make of smartphones with amazing cameras, I'll share my best photos on my Telegram channel in the highest resolution without compression. Anyway, I'll leave you below in the video description the direct link to my Telegram so you can check out in detail the photos I've taken with this Huawei Pura 80 Pro. The contrast, the reflections, how it handles the light. Here I've taken some of the best photos of the year. The same thing happened to me with the Vivo X300 Pro. I think these are the two smartphones I've liked the most this year when it comes to their photography capabilities. And it's true that I already tried a foldable Huawei before, but not one of their famous photography powerhouses. And it's an honor to have it here with me and to be able to show you on this channel that it's not just about fame, but that in terms of photography, it's truly a delight. You're already seeing how it performs at night in this monastery where there was almost no light. Despite that, it manages to pull light from where there's almost none, and it does so with hardly any noise. Therefore, those large sensors it has are mainly useful for scenes with poor lighting. Absolutely top-notch photograph cameras. Now we'll test how it records videos with this Huawei, which has a spectacular design. Here's how its stabilization and microphones would perform. At this full high-definition resolution at 60 frames per second, and this is how it would look in 4K resolution at 60 frames per second. The truth is, the screen looks spectacular. The sun is shining directly on it right now, and even so, it can still be seen perfectly. I think its photography section, for taking pictures, I liked it quite a bit more than the video part. And not because it has bad video at all, but because the photography is probably one of the best currently available on the market. At this point, I think that if you especially like taking photos, this is a smartphone you should really consider. But let's move on to the screen, and at this point, it doesn't do badly at all either. 6.8-inch 10-bit LTP OLED panel with 1 to 120 Hertz, dynamic refresh rate and 1140 Hertz pulse width modulation. Thank you, Huawei, for supporting this technology. By the way, you can download the YouTube app, but I suggest getting Chrome instead, since you can set videos to 4K resolution there. Then you do this, click the 3 dots and create a shortcut, as you can see. Therefore, for those of you who want to watch videos in 4K, some people don't care. This simple trick lets you access YouTube and watch videos in great resolution. Hey, so how does this 3000 nit panel look? You'll be able to see it clearly in any lighting condition. Also, reflections are well managed. It's a panel curved on all 4 sides. I like it because it further improves its great ergonomics. For enjoying multimedia, it's definitely a 10 out of 10 screen. And not just from other apps, but also from the photos or videos you record with this same Huawei. But let's talk about the software and hardware of this chameleonic alien, the Huawei Pura 80 Pro. I would have preferred an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor on the screen, but this is the fastest and most reliable side fingerprint sensor I've used. Even when your hand is slightly wet, you can't lock it with a double tap, but you can unlock it. I hope they add this in future updates. The haptic motor is good, but I don't consider it one of the best when it comes to the vibration feedback it gives you. It has 12 GB RAM, 512 GB storage, and an octa-core Kirin 9020 processor. I also like that the apps have a line at the bottom for swipe interaction. The truth is that everything feels very smooth, not just thanks to the 120 Hertz. And even though it has its own operating system, you can still download any Google app you want. Actually, this example perfectly shows you can install anything. You can also install Google Gemini as your assistant, meaning when you double-click the unlock button. And this is perfectly demonstrated by my colleague from the Tech Cave, who is an absolute professional. He explains in simple steps how to use it on any Huawei. I highly recommend his account, and I am showing it on screen. But hey, how does this Huawei Pure A80 Pro work in day-to-day apps like Instagram, for example? You can see everything clearly. It's smooth and works great with no issues. The screen makes everything look fine, and here's Google Earth, another Google app. I like to test this, especially because it pushes the GPU of smartphones to the limit. It's not the most powerful smartphone I've tested on this channel, but everything it needs to do, it does very well. Also, the GPS, the data, and Bluetooth, GPS, of course included in all models, work very well for positioning. Anyway, everything has worked perfectly for me. And the software it has is extremely complete and smooth. You can tell that since it's their own software, they make it themselves for their own devices. This makes everything feel smoother, even without the world's most powerful processor. By the way, about games, you can install whichever one you want, and you won't have any problems either because all the ones I've tried run well. I insist it's not the most powerful in the world, but it doesn't need to be. I've really liked its two speakers, especially the stereo effect. Also, go to sound and vibration, more settings, and enable improved stereo sound. This makes the audio clearer. Well, here's a test of its speakers. The sound is really immersive and also quite powerful. Now let's discuss its battery. It's only 8.3 millimeters thin, yet it still contains a 5,170 milliamp hour battery. It supports 100 watt fast charging included in the box, which is appreciated, and also allows wireless charging up to 80 watts, which is great. You can also limit charging to 70 or 80%. And the battery can last 2 days. However, I did notice that the charge dropped quite a bit. I don't know if it's because of the glass material on the back, but it was getting a bit hotter than usual. Nothing to worry about, especially if you're going to use it with a case. But in the end, it's a point I wanted to highlight. Hey, how much does this Huawei unidentified flying object cost? Well, you're already seeing it. The Huawei Pure A80 Pro costs 1,099 euros. But there's a discount coupon right now. You know, this company always tends to have discount coupons. By the way, the Ultra version costs 400 euros more. Without a doubt, I'm very satisfied with this Pro version. I've taken some great photos, including some impressive ones. As you've seen, they're also on my Telegram channel at the highest resolution that I'm going to leave for you further down in the video description, along with the purchase link for this Huawei Pure A80 Pro. Hey, so what's my conclusion? I love that Huawei keeps taking risks, trying new designs, and standing out from the competition. Plus, it has an impressive main sensor with a variable aperture, and it's also 1 inch in size. But it's not just that. The processing, post-processing, and photo editing all perform exceptionally well. It's not perfect and has downsides, as I've mentioned in the video. But even so, for this price, it's amazing how far smartphones have come in terms of their photographic capabilities. Share anything you want in the comments. I love reading them. Subscribe if you haven't yet and leave a like so I can keep traveling the world while recording the most amazing technology with the best views possible. And now I'll see you in the next video. Take care and see you soon.